Hello everyone and welcome to another water drop. Today we are going to look at simple automated reporting that combines the most popular engineering tool in the world, Microsoft Excel, and a lesser known but very powerful tool from Autodesk, Info360. Alright, so who is this workflow for? It's for a variety of different folks. If you're a manager who needs to pull regulatory reports, if you love working in Excel and creating detailed reporting, if you work in compliance, maybe at a treatment plant and need to make sure you're meeting regulatory requirements in terms of discharge, this report is for you. It can be used in a variety of different ways. If you need to pull time series data, bring it into a local instance, a local copy that you need to work with, this workflow is for you. It does utilize our Info360 platform, either Insight or Plant. And again, these are hugely powerful tools. And if you don't have access to them, again, maybe this is reason to take another look at these particular tools in the Info360 platform. The workflow I'll be going through today is first, I'm going to take whatever Excel template I want to generate a report in, and I'm going to add a tab to it, simply called Info360. This is where all the data that I pull from Info360 is going to be populated into. Next, I'm going to configure that report to pull data from that Info360 tab into whatever else I need to show in that Excel report. Next, I'm going to jump in and log in to my Info360 application, and I'm going to set up the actual data export in Info360. What are the time series values I want to pull from Info360 to help populate my report? Next, I'll upload my configured Excel template into Info360 as a report and tie it to that data export, which will contain the fields and again time series values that I will use to populate the rest of my Excel report. And then lastly, this report is now fully configured and available within the Info360 platform, and I can pull data from Info360 in this configured report as needed and as specified by my design. So the example we'll be going through today is actually inspired by the latest cover story from AWWA's magazine, Using Digital Twins to Improve Pumping and Distribution System Operations. Credit to where credit is due. It's going to be a very simple report we're going to use. We're going to basically have 4 different inputs to it. We're going to have the suction pressure and the discharge pressure at a pump or pump station. We'll be looking at the total flow rate through that pump station and comparing that to the pump manufacturer's curve so we can easily tell, hey, when is our pump operating at its peak operating point and when is it being less efficient and possibly leading to damage at our pump or pump station. All right, so jumping into the actual workflow, first step is maybe to start in Excel, a platform we all know and are very familiar with. And the first step again is to simply add a tab to whatever Excel report you want to configure, whatever Excel report you want to regularly be able to draw from and pull valuable Info360 data into. You just want to add a tab to it that says Info360, no spaces, no any special characters, anything like that. Just create a tab, Info360, leave it blank. This tab you can see has been populated and has actually been run by a data pull, and every time that Info360 pulls data, it's going to pull it in this type of format into this particular tab. It's identified as the Info360 tab every time I want to run this report. Next step then is we want to configure our report to pull information and organize this information to be valuable to us. So again, in the example we're doing, I'm pulling data from pump status, flow rate, upstream, downstream pressure, just 4 sensors really. And I want to configure that to look at my preferred operating range, my best operating point from a pump to make sure it's working as desired. So first thing I'm going to do, I guess I should say, is I pulled this information and created kind of a pivot table with this. So pay no attention to these values. The data is all here correctly. You can see I'm using some sort unique commands and some transpose sort unique commands referencing that Info360 table to basically, again, create a pivot table so I can better organize this information that's come in and just tied to overall a date value, kind of stamp here, a time stamp here. So I've got this all organized. So here are all my downstream pressures and they're related to each of my timestamps here. I've got my other fields here. Here's the status, here's upstream pressure, here's the downstream pressure here. And next I am going to come over here and line these values up then and compare them to my pump curve. So I've got head being added then. This is a combination of the downstream, upstream pressure. There's that. I've got the flow rate that's being recorded from here, and I'm comparing these operating points. I've got a long list of these, right, from the 2 weeks of data I pulled in this case, that I'm comparing these values to the actual pump curve. I've got the pump curve information for flow and head here. This is a curve here, and then I've got, if it's operating at 75% power here, I've got that comparison curve here as well. Okay, so I've got all my data here on the back end. Now what do I want to do in order to make this look good? Here's my preferred operating range graph here. So I've kind of boxed in this area where it should be operating. I've got this graph referencing those fields from my data tab here. You can see I've got my pump curve here as well. And I can see for the most part during this time period here, January to February, I've got a lot of the time it's operating within the preferred range. Sometimes it's not. So I can investigate what are these times, what are these periods when it's not operating within the preferred range. This is a great report to be able to pull. So again, how would I set this up from the Info360 side? I come to my Info360 application. You can see the first thing you might go to is the sensor data export. So we need to configure Info360 so that when it can pull down the appropriate data fields into my Excel report into that Info360 tab. So first step is to go to Data, Sensor Data Export, and generate a data sensor export here. And here you can see here are the 4 fields that I'm pulling down into Excel here. So I can specify the interval I want to pull these in, either as they come in, hourly, daily. I can specify a particular time range. I can specify, do I want the high value, the close value, open, average, sum. Again, there's ways to manipulate this data to make it a little bit more useful to you. You can go ahead and save that. So now that is a saved data export there. And now what I need to do is tie all these parts together, the sensor data export, my Excel report, and put it all into one spot so that I can easily pull this report whenever I need to. So what I've done here is I've created a report, and again, it's very easy. All this part is doing is pulling these things together. I've specified the data export. I've uploaded the Excel template. I've uploaded that. If I wanted to download that and reuse it for a different type of report, reconfigure it, I could do that as well. But now, every time that I download this report, I can specify, what do I want this period of time to be? Maybe I want the last 15 days for how my pump has been operating. I can easily download that then. And I skipped ahead a few seconds just to get the download in, but you can see it's now been downloaded. Again, this is the exact same kind of report and format that I had in this example here, but once I download it, and as soon as I enable editing, all of those functions that I have pre-configured in my Excel are going to be updated, and there's my report ready to go. So again, a variety of ways you could imagine doing this. You could do this for something like a AWWA water audit. Bring all your values in here, look at something like water loss. You could bring in a type of report that's fully configured according to discharge and regulatory requirements. Again, a lot of different ways you could use this particular reporting feature to bring data out of Info360 into something as simple and as regular as Excel to be able to convey really valuable information to necessary stakeholders. The benefits of this tool within Info360 are numerous. So many different workflows and types of easy templated reporting that's very water specific can easily be done with this tool. And Info360 is a great place to store all of this time series information, relate it to your hydraulic model for many different purposes. But we understand you need to bring information out of that. Data can't always be in the cloud, and so you have options. Looking at this type of information, such as the example today regarding pump performance within Info360 Insight, or bringing it out into a more customized Excel format for stakeholders that don't necessarily need or want access to the cloud application. And many more different types of reports could be available through this type of application, from water loss to treatment plant regulatory and compliance reporting. This is a great, flexible way to get the data you need in the format you most desire. Happy reporting, everyone, and thank you again for watching.